Shadow Generations. Wow, it's been 1 year already. Can you believe that? Bro, last year I was legit a whole child. Now I've experienced what it is to become a man. Ayo, what? Hold on. Yeah, nah, we're not adding that into the video. But in all seriousness, it's crazy how far we have come with the Sonic franchise. After the disaster launch that was Forces, people lost hope for the franchise, although I do know some people who love and adore that game. After Forces, we had to wait 5 years until we got the next mainline Sonic game, which was Sonic Frontiers. This was the game that had to reconstruct the foundation for many Sonic fans, and I personally think it did, as it was received pretty well. As many people say nowadays, Frontiers was the beginning of a new era and a step in the right direction for the series. We also had many other things in the franchise, such as the movies, new games, and of course, the big one that released, Shadow Generations. I still remember when people saw the reveal trailer last year and were surprised at why Sonic Generations was getting a remaster, as it was a fairly recent game and ran pretty well. But then boom, out of the Shadow Realms, Shadow the Hedgehog emerged and people were freaking out. But although people were excited that Shadow was going to be playable, people were suspicious and had flashbacks of Sonic Forces. In case some of you who haven't played Forces, there was DLC where we got episode Shadow and it was legit 3 levels in total and reskins of stages that were already in the game, with of course a few minor changes. People just didn't want the game to be another Forces situation. Fast forward to October 25th, the release date of the game, and oh boy, people loved the game. The game was literal perfection to many people, and even IGN gave it a high rating of 9, which stunned many people because, you know, it's IGN. Now let's get into the spicy stuff. Once again, this is my personal review of the game, so if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Now, the biggest gimmick for the game was this new ability of Chaos Control, and boy, let me tell you, that thing was broken. You froze time, like literally. It stopped your whole timer in case you needed to get that S rank. It was definitely a great addition to the game. In terms of gameplay, it was very fun, as Shadow felt kinda similar to how Sonic controlled in Frontiers, and honestly, I don't mind that, as I adapted to those controls. Although there was one thing that people did complain about, and it was how slow Shadow felt compared to Sonic. But to be fair, I feel like they kind of needed to do that, especially with the new ability of Chaos Control, unless I'm completely wrong. But in terms of gameplay, Shadow felt buttery smooth and I enjoyed using that man every moment I could. We of course got new abilities known as the Doom powers. We received the Doom Spears, Doom Blast, Doom Morph, Doom Wings, and the Doom Surf. All these new abilities brought something new to the table, and not gonna lie, I would have to say that both Doom Blast and Doom Wings were probably my favorites. They were all fun to use and unique in their own ways. It's crazy how they would give Shadow wings as well. I would have never expected that, to be honest, but it was an awesome addition. I overall enjoyed using all these abilities as it was something new to the franchise and for Shadow, so of course, people were freaking out and had a blast using them. In terms of the writing and story, I have to say that wow. Just wow. I never felt a roller coaster of emotions as we got to see Maria and Gerald Robotnik come back and for Shadow to see them. Of course, this was like a psychological warfare type of problem for this poor little guy. I was like, nah, you can't do that to him. With the whole white space thing around him, feeling lonely, and having to do his own business, I felt like this was a nice touch to Shadow's story. It's crazy how during this campaign, Shadow has to confront his past to overcome it while Sonic is on a mission trying to stop the Time Eater. And speaking of the Time Eater, we were introduced to a familiar face known as Black Doom, who was resurrected and Shadow of course had to destroy him. It's crazy how they brought back Black Doom and the origins of Shadow from the OG game known as Shadow the Hedgehog, but also Shadow 05, to which many people have mixed opinions about. While Shadow was fighting for his life and confronted with so many memories of his past, we were also introduced to other characters. And these characters were also familiar faces: the Bio-Lizard, Metal Overlord, and of course Mephiles, which is a fan favorite. People really thought Infinite would return, but well, looks like he's not returning anytime soon, so sorry Infinite fans. Of course, these enemies returning was a whole shocker to everyone, as nobody expected these iconic villains to reprise their role in a recent Sonic game. But overall, I feel like they all played their role very well, and of course, we got this beautiful scene when Shadow finally lets out a smile, and that will always be one to remember for the books. Overall, Shadow completes his mission, defeating Black Doom and everyone else, but just seeing both his creator and best friend fade away has to be the saddest ending in a Sonic game, where even a grown man can cry. I'll include this little section here as I don't have too much space to talk about it, but we did have white space, and this time it felt like an open zone area similar to an island from Frontiers. I personally enjoyed it as I could just roam around getting collectibles and doing challenges. The soundtrack of the game was also a huge A+, although I do know many people that disliked it at first and probably still do. But, Kingdom Valley, it's a classic at this point. Now comes the juicy and beefy part of the game, and that's the actual stages, and boy let me tell you, I had a blast playing every single one of them. It honestly felt more like a trip towards nostalgia for me personally, as we saw many stages that we haven't seen in a while. Also, when looking at all the levels, we did get a 3D part for Act 1 and a 2D part for Act 2, which I was okay with, although I did wish the game would have been fully 3D. For example, we got Kingdom Valley, which is probably the best stage in the entire game, as it was remade so well and had many alternate paths, and that was a huge thing about the game. The alternate paths that you could take were unlimited, and you could pretty much go anywhere, to be honest. But man, Kingdom Valley, not only was the level design great, but the music was also fantastic and is one of my favorite tracks throughout the entire game and series. As for the other stages, we had Sunset Heights, which was a great remake, and I feel like they did deliver with that stage, specifically after what they did in Forces. The Act 2 of this game was also very phenomenal and is one of my favorites throughout the entire game. We also got Space Colony Arc, which was one of the first levels of the game, and to be fair, it was actually a pretty good stage to start things off and get a good grip of the controls. I personally enjoy the music and the different sections of the stage, but oh boy, people were not a fan of Rail Canyon, as all you would do would be to hold down the boost button as you were rail grinding on rails, and that's pretty much all you did all level, barely any platforming. I really don't know why they chose that stage specifically out of so many others, but overall that stage looked very beautiful. Then we have Chaos Island, to which many people were confused when they saw this area in the game. But if we're being completely honest, Sega probably just wanted to reuse some recent assets from Frontiers and add them here, to which I was perfectly fine with, as both Act 1 and Act 2 turned out to be one of my most favorite stages, and the music was also very good. And last but not least, Radical Highway. And this area had 3 acts, but they were all 3D, and it was like a dream for many people, including myself. These stages were actually pretty hard if you ask me, although they did feel repetitive. I'm just glad we got more 3D sections, as that's something the fans have been begging for. The level design for these stages were actually pretty good. Also, before I forget, we did get DLC in this game in the form of a Tokyo stage from Sonic Movie 3, where people said it was just Westopolis. The stage was great, but I feel like it was way too short, and there were more cutscenes than you actually playing the game. After beating the stages, we got challenges, and they were pretty cool, but felt very short at the same time. And we can't forget when this man Black Doom just stopped by and said, you know what, let me interrupt you playing the stage and let's go back to Radical Highway, which he probably did that like a good 4 times, and I'm like, dude, can I please play the stage in peace, bro? But I personally feel like that was a really cool addition to the game, as it felt something unique and new for us players. But there's a huge problem, and once again, this is just my opinion. I just can't seem to replay the game. I remember when I bought the game, I was excited and thought I would play the game every single day, but for me, it was a one and done deal. After the initial release back in October of last year, I have not touched the game since, and I've tried to, but I just feel like it's lost its spark from before. I feel like these type of games were a one and done type of thing for some people, to where I only went back to the game just to record these clips. I loved the game and found it very fun, but I feel like it has a replayability problem. Another huge thing about this game, and they've been doing this kind of recently, of course Sega, in recent Sonic games, was that we actually got customizations for the OG prototype characters. For example, in Sonic Superstars, we did get Feels the Rabbit, which was supposed to be the prototype of Sonic the Hedgehog, and now in this game we got Terios, which was supposed to be Shadow the Hedgehog, but we did get these 2 iconic characters. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm just not a fan of how Terios looks in this game, but that's just me though, and I feel like many people can agree with that. And another huge thing that Sega gave us was the Sonic Jam skin for Classic Sonic and the Sonic Adventure 1 skin for Modern Sonic, which was incredibly hype. Another huge problem as well was the fact that this game was only 3 hours long. People were complaining about how short the game was, and I kind of understand, to the point where it's just like, dude, 3 hours, this feels like a Forces game, I'm not gonna lie. But to be fair, it's kind of a game that's similar in length with Sonic Generations. And I guarantee you, Sega probably didn't want to work too much on this project because they're probably working on the next mainline Sonic game. I don't want this video to be too long, so I won't be talking about the boss fights, at least not necessarily in depth or in detail. The only thing I'm going to say here is that each boss fight raised the bar for each and every stage, and they were unique in their own way. The first boss fight that we had was the Bio Lizard, and it was an okay fight. I wouldn't say it's like an S tier fight or an A+ or whatever. I feel like it's a solid B if we're being completely honest, and I'm really glad that they brought this specific boss back into Shadow Generations, considering that this is one of the most iconic boss fights in Sonic Adventure 2. Up next we have Metal Overlord, and I'm not gonna lie, this might be my favorite boss fight of the entire game, and this boss fight actually appeared in Sonic Heroes, which I kind of have my gripes with the game, but you know, it's pretty cool. And oh my gosh, dude, I'm not gonna lie, the voice acting for Metal Overlord was over the roof and over the top. I personally enjoyed hearing this man and going crazy roasting Shadow, saying that he was the ultimate life form. Like, bro, you can't be saying that to the actual ultimate life form, and of course, you know, you had to destroy that man with Shadow, so it was pretty cool. And to be honest, it was a pretty fast-paced boss fight, so that's pretty cool, and you get to use many different abilities from the Doom powers. After you fight Metal Overlord, the next boss fight would be Mephiles. Now, I could be biased here, but dude, I was absolutely shocked when this man arrived, and I was going crazy when I saw this man in the reveal trailer. And many people were actually very excited and happy to see Mephiles return back in a recent mainline Sonic game. I personally enjoyed this boss fight with Mephiles, but I feel like Metal Overlord just takes the cake with the entire game and all the bosses for this specific section. I just wasn't a huge fan of Doom Morph, to be completely honest, and I think that's the only reason why I prefer Metal Overlord compared to Mephiles, even though I do enjoy Mephiles as a character. Then comes the Big Daddy, the big boy himself, Neo Devil Doom. And although you did have to use Doom Morph for this boss fight, I have to say that this boss fight was actually very hype. There was a lot of cool moments that I enjoyed about this boss fight. Now, another little thing that I kind of wanted to bring up here really quick was the voice direction and the voice acting for Shadow in this game. I personally feel like this game specifically brought out the best of Kirk's Shadow. I'm not the biggest fan of Kirk, I never really liked him. My favorite Shadow is actually David Humphreys from SA2 and Heroes, all that type of stuff. But, I mean, I gotta give the man credit. The voice direction they gave Shadow in this game is truly phenomenal, and I think this might be his best game yet, and let's see what else we have in store for us in the future. Every single scene that he's done with Maria in this game felt very well done, and you can even feel the emotions through the way how he's speaking. So once again, big ups to my boy Kirk, and I respect him. But overall, I gotta say, wow. I really enjoyed this game when it released, but after that, I just can't seem to go back to it for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't have that same feeling Sonic Generations gives you to go back and replay a stage you've done over 500 times. I don't know what it is, man. I love Shadow Generations, and I'm glad it helped the Sonic franchise a ton, and I feel like it's heading towards the right direction. So yeah, that's my review. A pretty, somewhat big one, but hey, it's rare for me to do these, but you know. With that being said, I hope all you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you guys thought of Shadow Generations 1 year later. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the comments. For now, stay safe, take care, and peace.